Hello! Isang magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Welcome to Readings in Philippine History. A common misconception among college students is that history is merely the passive memorization of names, dates, and locations. No? In business disciplines tulad ng accountancy, marketing, at financial management, di ba, natutunan natin na raw data without interpretation is useless. Raw data without interpretation is useless. History functions under the exact same principle. It is an active, rigorous method of inquiry and analysis rather than a collection of static facts. To understand history within the Philippine setting, we compare two distinct traditions. The Western tradition of Historia and the indigenous Filipino concept of kasaysayan. Historia, yung Western tradition, it originates from the ancient Greek word historia, meaning inquiry or knowledge acquired by investigation. It is formulated by classical historians like Herodotus and Thucydides. Ang traditional emphasis dito ay written, linear, and state-centered records. In kasaysayan, yung Filipino epistemology, developed in local historiography and articulated by scholars tulad ni Dr. Sus Salazar. Rooted siya sa two words, salaysay, narrative or story, and saysay, meaning value or relevance. So kasaysayan, salaysay and saysay. It is defined as a narrative with meaning for a specific group of people sharing a culture and tradition. Isipin natin ito, kapag sinabing kasaysayan, hindi lang ito simpleng pag-iipon ng datos. Ito ay salaysay na may saysay para sa pamayanan. Kung may kwento ka, pero wala namang saysay o kabuluhan sa lipunan, hindi yun kasaysayan. Kundi simpleng lang yan, chronicle lang yan o tala-tala lamang. Halimbawa sa accounting, kung ire-record mo ang bawat solong 1 peso expense ng walang konteksto o kategorya, raw transaction list lang yun, di ba? Pero kapag inayos at sinuri mo ang mga figures upang ipakita ang tunay na financial condition ng kumpanya, nagkakaroon ito ng saysay, nagkakaroon ito ng relevance. Sa kasaysayan, kailangan din na may kabuluhan ang salaysay sa bayan. The past itself is gone and cannot be recreated in a laboratory setting. Yung mga historians, they cannot rerun the 1896 Philippine Revolution or directly witness historical events. Wala silang time machine. Hindi sila tulad sa Game of Thrones, na merong nakakita sa mga nangyari. Instead, history is a reconstructive science. Historians work with surviving traces. Ano itong mga surviving traces? Mga documents, physical artifacts, photographs, and even oral recordings, to reconstruct past occurrences through structured inquiry. Historical narratives fulfill vital functions in statecraft, national identity construction, and decolonization. Yung isa sa mga naisip ko na modern example nito, yung pag-rely natin sa historical cartography, tulad nung 1734 Murillo Velarde map. Ito yung primary legal and historical evidence to establish sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea under international maritime law. Isa ang dokumento na ito ang nagpanalo sa kaso natin sa arbitration laban sa 9-dash line na sinasabi ng China. 19th century positivism, championed by Leopold van Ranke, asserted that history would be written as it essentially was. Y.S. Egenschlech Gewesen. Siguro mali pronunciation ko dyan, pasensya na po mga kaibigan, no? However, modern historiography recognizes that absolute objectivity is impossible. Bakit? Kasi tao lang yung mga historians. Ang tao nagkakamali. While historians must strictly adhere to empirical facts and never fabricate evidence, the act of writing history is inherently interpretative. No? Kailangan mo nang ma-interpret yan. No? Historians must select which events to record, organize raw facts into chronological frameworks, and choose specific language to describe occurrences. So, sir, you're saying na na may myth, no? Ang absolute objectivity sa pagsulat ng kasaysayan, no? Oo. No? May talaga doon, may issue tayo doon. Dahil ang isang historian ay kailangan pumili sa libo-libong dokumento sa arkibo. Pipiliin niya kung alin ang babasahin, alin ang isasama sa libro, at paano ito ipapaliwanag, no? Parang financial reporting. For example, no, meron tayong dalawang accountant, no? Humawak ng parehong asset records ng isang kumpanya. Pero depende sa valuation model at notes to financial statements, pwedeng mag-iba ang emphasized narrative. Hindi ibig sabihin na peke ang datos, kundi ang pagpili at pag-frame ay dumadaan sa tao. Ito yung mga major Philippine historiographical frameworks natin, no? So makita natin yung table na ito. May framework historian, no? Sina Teodoro Agoncillo, Renato Constantino, si Reynaldo Elieto, si Sus Salazar. Magkakaiba sila ng core perspective, no? Sa Agoncillo, mas nag-rely siya sa history of the masses, no? Ang isang contribution niya sa ating history ay yung 1896 revolution was primarily initiated and driven by the lower class rather than the cautious elite. Yun ang pananaw ni Agoncillo. Si Constantino naman, ang core perspective niya is nationalist, anti-colonial struggle, no? Na isang naratibo ang Philippine history ng mga Pilipino na gustong i-resist ang iba't ibang mga dayuhan na gustong kunin, no, ang kapangyarihan sa ating bansa. Si Elieto naman, ang kanya namang kaisipan ay history from below, no? He analyzed folk songs, religious texts, yung passion, no, and popular culture to understand kung ano ba yung viewpoint ng mga tao, no, tungkol sa kalayaan, tungkol sa redemption, no? Dr. Sus Salazar naman ay meron siyang tinatawag na pantayong pananaw, no? Advocated for history written in the Filipino language, paggamit ng mga local na konsepto, no, para sa audience na Pilipino, no? Because colonial authorities and wealthy elites had a monopoly on literacy and archival record keeping, standard historical documents reflect structural biases, no? Masasabi natin na minsan kung ano man ang nakasulat ay colonial at elite-centric, no? Consequently, subaltern groups such as peasant women, indigenous communities, and local workers, nauumit sila sa official historical records, no? So, kaya kung hindi na napapansin sa history natin, puro lalaki ang bida, which is, for me, that's wrong, no? Kasi paniniwala ko, equal contribution ang kalalakihan at kababaihan sa nangyaring kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, no? Hindi naman sa inumit nila, pero yun ang tradisyon noon, which is, we are trying to correct it now. Now, a historian doesn't merely record raw facts. They act as an active interpreter, evaluating source credibility and arranging isolated events into a cohesive narrative. Concurrently, the historian is influenced by their own socio-economic background, temporal context, and intellectual environment. Let's see here, yung isa sa pamosong historian, si E.H. Carr, sa kanyang libro na In What is History noong 1961, Edward Hallett Carr stated that history is a continuous, unending dialogue between the present and the past. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng unending dialogue between the present and the past? Ang mga pangyayari sa nakaraan ay tapos na. Tulad ng relasyon mo ng ex mo, tapos na dapat yan. Ngunit ang mga katanungan natin mula sa kasalukuyan ay patuloy na nagbabago. So in a nutshell, parang ganito yan. Yung relasyon mo sa ex mo tapos na. Pero di ba may mga tanong ka pa rin, Bakit niya ako iniwan? Halimbawa, noong 1950s, ang pangunahing usapin ng bansa ay nation building pagkatapos ng World War II. Kaya ang mga tanong ng historians sa arkibo ay tungkol sa political sovereignty. Ngayong 2026, ang mga pangunahing issue natin ay, of course, digital disinformation, global supply chains, monetary inflation. So, nakita iba yung perspective natin noong 1950s at ngayon na 2026. Kaya bumabalik ang mga historians sa parehong arkibo noong 19th century, ngunit nagtatanong na ng mga bagong katanungan tungkol sa lumang kalakalan at komunikasyon. Depende yun sa kung ano man ang issue natin ngayon. Now, isipin naman natin yung sources of history. We could classify our sources sa tatlo. We have the primary sources. These are original materials created during the historical period under study or produced by direct participants or witnesses. Ito yung mga original manuscripts, mga declarations, mga official letters, mga physical artifacts like the Laguna copperplate inscription. We also have secondary sources, accounts that analyze, evaluate, synthesize, or interpret primary sources produced by non-eyewitnesses. Ito yung mga academic monographs, mga peer-reviewed journal articles, historical biographies. And last but not least, we also have tertiary sources, reference summaries and compilations that consolidate primary and secondary sources. Ito na yung mga encyclopedias, general textbooks, mga bibliographies. Ang klasifikasyon ng source ay nakadepende sa research question ng pagsusuri. Halimbawa, for example, meron tayong isang American colonial textbook na isinulat noong 1905. Ito ay isang secondary source kung pinag-aaralan mo ang revolusyon ng 1896. Why? Because we are talking about a topic na nangyari noon and it was only written in 1905. Subalit, kung ang research question mo ay ano ang ideolohiya ng Amerikanong educator noong 1905, pag yun ang research question mo, ang mismong textbook ay nagiging primary resource para sa era na yun. So, yun ang difference niya. We also have here the major archival repositories. Pinag-uusapan natin yung mga arkibo. Actually, marami naman. Hindi kilala ng mga tao, pero meron. Meron tayo yung NAP Manila, the National Archives of the Philippines. Holds approximately 13 million documents from Spanish colonial administration and American period records. We also have Archivo General de Indias. Ito naman makita ito sa Seville, Spain. Key repository housing administrative, military, economic, and of course church records generated across the Spanish Pacific Empire. We also have the National Archives and Records Administration na makita sa College Park, Maryland, USA. It houses records of the U.S. Bureau of Insular Affairs, military intelligence reports from the Philippine-American War, and World War II guerrilla recognition files, no? So ito yung mga talagang bigatin na arkibo, no, ng knowledge, ng data natin, no? Pero marami pa dyan. And look at your project, your prelim project, no? Pinakita natin dito na pwedeng sources of information yung mga bagay-bagay sa inyong bahay, no? Your house itself could be a source of, historical data, di ba? Lalo mga lumang bahay, no? And do not discount oral narratives, no, from the people who were there, no? I think they are also a good resource, no? Technically speaking, there are so many untapped archives, no, that historians haven't yet touched, no? Kasi kulang tayo sa tao, kulang tayo sa interest na hanapin ang mga arkibo na ito, no? But church records are also good historical records, no? Yung nakalista, yung mga baptisms, no? Those are also good historical records. Dito sa Dagupan meron but I haven't have time to visit it yet, no? Yung mga church records noon, no? Kamusta kaya? Ano kayang parte ng kasaysayan ang malalaman natin, ang mapag-aaralan pa natin if we have historians who would study this, no? Like lately ko lang nalaman sa isang seminar na yung bayan ko ngayon, kung saan ako nakatira, at yung bayan kung saan ako lumaki, konektado pala. Bakit? Dito pala dumaan si Emilio Aguinaldo nung nag-retreat siya, no? Mula nung siya ay tinutusig ng mga Amerikano. Dumaan pala siya dito, no, hanggang doon sa ang bayan ako lumaki. At hindi ko napag-aralan yon nung ako pa ay nag-aaral, no? Na-realize ko lang din nung ako na ay nasa isang seminar at pinag-uusapan namin ang mga bayan na to. Ay, alam ko to. Dito ako lumaki. Mga ganun, no? So, yun. Now, we have let's move on to historical methodology. We have external and internal criticisms, no? At nandito may isang table dito, external criticisms, no? The physical authenticity of the source, no? Genuine ba yung physical document, no? Is the paper, ink, handwriting, and provenance consistent with the era? Is it forgery? Dapat tingnan natin yan. So dapat katulad ito sa document verification or forensic auditing na ginagawa natin, no? Mayroon tayong internal criticism, no? Pwede namang yung document physically genuine siya, pero yung credibility at yung veracity ng content pwedeng false, diba? Is the author trustworthy? What is the author's bias or interest? Is the content accurate and corroborated by other accounts, no? Kasi sa history dapat, no, mako-corroborate yung facts, no, na hindi lang ng isang historian. Because take note, some historians could be paid, some historians could be misled, no? Like for example, pwede kong sabihin na mayroon tayong makapangyarihang kingdom dito sa Pilipinas doon na punong-puno ng ginto, at yumaman ang tatay ko kasi siyang attorney ng descendant na makapangyarihang kingdom na ito. Alam mo yun, yung mga ginto sa makapangyarihang bayan na ito yung pera namin ngayon, no? Alam mo yun. Pero if we would study naman the records, wala namang mention ng makapangyarihang kingdom na ito, di ba? So yun yung isang dapat nating tingnan, no? Ano naman ang counterpart nito sa business discipline, no? Yung substantive audit and inquiry, no? So yun, you cross-verify entries, no? Now, we have here some practical case studies, no? We'll only mention two. Like, for example ng external criticism, yung Code of Kalanchaw hoax, no? Ano siya kasi, nakasulat, naalala ko, nakasulat siya sa libro ko nun, no? Nasa kasi siya, early textbook siya, na supposedly it was a pre-colonial legal code from 1433. No? But then, historian William Henry Scott applied external criticism in 1968, and he traced its provenance back to Jose E. Marco, proving that the document lacked archival backing and was a modern fabrication. So yun pala. And we also have the internal criticism case, tulad ng Tejeros Convention accounts, di ba? Yung famous Tejeros Convention, no? When evaluating the election of March 22, 1897, historians compare accounts by Artemio Ricarte and Santiago Alvarez. And internal criticism reveals Ricarte's conflict of interest, no? Bakit? Kasi he secretly signed Bonifacio's declaration invalidating the election while taking office under Aguinaldo. No? So parang may conflict of interest na si Ricarte. And also, si Alvarez naman, siya may family ties sa magdiwang faction. No? So yun, sometimes, kung hindi lahat ng nasulat ay tama. Sometimes, due to political agenda, no, babalutin mo yung nakasulat, no? So yun yung isang nakita natin doon sa Tejeros Convention accounts, no? Now, I would like to end, no, this brief lesson recording, no? How do these discussions on history relevant to the disciplines that you enroll to, no? For accountancy, makakatulong ito sa forensic verification and audit trails. In accounting and auditing, source validation follows identical principles to historical methodology. External criticisms such as invoice and check verification, while internal criticisms such as substantive testing of management representations and cross-corroboration of ledger entries. For marketing management, nandito yung cultural sensitivity and brand equity. Brands operating in the Philippines must demonstrate historical and cultural intelligence. Misrepresenting historical figures or national heritage in commercial promotions could lead to public backlash and brand erosion. Furthermore, brand storytelling relies on authentic heritage derived from verifiable historical records rather than artificial corporate narratives. And for financial management, ito yung systemic risk and hyperinflation. Historical economic crisis offer direct lessons for modern risk managers and financial decision makers. Remember that during the Japanese occupation of the Philippines from 1942 to 1945, the expansion of unbacked flat paper currency na yung Mickey Mouse money, and of course coupled with severe collapse in agriculture and manufacturing output, nag-trigger siya ng catastrophic hyperinflation noon. This historical case highlights the critical necessity of monetary confidence, reserve backing, and supply chain history. And that ends our lesson, no? And I hope that this piques your interest, no, in our course, no, in Readings in Philippine History. Maraming salamat po, and pagpalain po sana kayo.